The champagne hit Elena like a slap. The cold liquid splashed across her chest, soaking through her pale blue dress and turning it dark. Around her people laughed. Some pointed. Others held up their phones, recording every second of her humiliation. Elena stood frozen at the gates of the Crystal Palace in Lagos. Her grandmother's invitation lay torn at her feet. The security guard's boot had crushed it into the mud. "Street rat," Commander James spat, his voice full of disgust. "Did you really think you could walk into Prince Daniel's birthday party with a fake invitation?" "It's not fake," Elena whispered. Her voice shook. "My grandmother saved the prince's life 20 years ago. The king gave her this invitation. It's real." Hello family, welcome back. Please take a moment to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. It truly means a lot to us. Don't forget to share it with your friends and loved ones and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new story. So sit back and relax as we dive into the story. Lady Victoria stepped forward. She was the Queen's senior advisor, dressed in an expensive green gown. Her gold ring sparkled as she picked up the torn invitation and examined it. "Ah yes," Lady Victoria said with a cold smile. "The thief's granddaughter. Still begging for royal scraps after all these years." Elena's hands trembled. "My grandmother was not a thief." "Your grandmother stole from Queen Catherine herself," Lady Victoria continued loudly. Everyone could hear. "She was convicted and banished. And now you come here, dressed in rags, trying to sneak into a royal celebration?" More champagne flew through the air. This time it hit Elena's face. The crowd roared with laughter. Elena bent down to pick up her silver thimble. It had fallen from the chain around her neck. Before she could grab it, Commander James's heavy boot came down on her hand. Pain shot up her arm. She cried out. "Leave it," James growled. "Stolen property stays here." Elena looked up at him. Then she looked at the crowd. Every single face showed the same thing. Disgust. Amusement. Hatred. Rain began to fall from the dark clouds above. Elena stood slowly, leaving the thimble in the mud. She didn't wipe the champagne from her dress or face. She simply walked away, her head held high. Behind her, the laughter continued. Music and celebration filled the air as the palace gates slammed shut. Elena walked down the long driveway in the pouring rain. Her feet hurt. Her hand throbbed. Her heart felt like it was breaking into 1,000 pieces. But she didn't cry. Not yet. Inside the palace, in a security room filled with monitors, Prince Daniel watched everything. He had been reviewing the guest arrivals when the commotion started. He watched Elena walk away. He watched Commander James pick up the silver thimble and toss it into an evidence box. Prince Daniel opened his desk drawer with shaking hands. Inside, wrapped in silk cloth, was another silver thimble. Exactly the same as Elena's. He had carried it for 20 years. His fingers trembled as he reached for the phone. "Find her," he said urgently. "Find Elena Okonkwo. Find her now." But would he find her in time? And what truth was hidden in those two identical thimbles? 3 weeks earlier, Elena knelt beside her grandmother's bed in their tiny one-room shack on the edge of Emberfield village, just outside Lagos. Mama Rosa's breathing sounded like dry leaves rattling in the wind. Her hand, thin as paper and cold as ice, gripped Elena's wrist tightly. "The boy," Mama Rose whispered. Her voice was so weak Elena had to lean close to hear. "The river. You must go to him." "Grandmother, please rest," Elena said softly. Tears filled her eyes. "Don't talk. Save your strength." "Find him," Mama Rose continued, her eyes burning with fever. "The prince. He promised he'd remember." Those were her last words. Mama Rose closed her eyes and never opened them again. 3 days after the funeral, Elena was cleaning out her grandmother's things. She found an old sewing box beneath rolls of thread and fabric. Inside was a thick envelope sealed with red wax. Elena's hands shook as she broke the seal. Inside was a royal invitation printed on heavy cream paper with gold letters. Prince Daniel's 30th birthday gala. Crystal Palace. Black tie event. At the bottom was the king's crimson seal pressed into red wax. A letter accompanied it, written in Mama Rose's careful handwriting. "My dearest Elena, if you are reading this, I am gone. 20 years ago, I saved a drowning boy from the palace lake. His father, the king, gave me this invitation as thanks. He said it grants lifetime access under Royal Decree 447. The boy's name was Daniel. He's your prince now. Go to him. Let him see what his promise meant. Let him know I never regretted diving in. Your grandmother, Rose." Elena read the letter 7 times. She couldn't believe it. Her grandmother, a royal seamstress? Her grandmother who saved the prince? None of it made sense. Everyone in the village said Mama Rose was a thief. They said she stole from Queen Catherine and was banished when Elena was only 5 years old. But Elena knew one thing for certain. Dying people don't lie. She borrowed 200 naira from Dr. Margaret at the village clinic. She washed her only dress 7 times until the old stains faded. She walked 8 kilometers to the bus station in the hot sun. The ticket to Lagos cost 180 naira. She had 20 naira left in her pocket. When Elena arrived at the Crystal Palace, her breath caught in her throat. The building rose before her like a mountain made of glass and marble. Expensive cars lined the circular driveway. Women in designer gowns walked past, covered in diamonds and gold. Elena's dress was already dusty from the long walk. Her sandals were broken and repaired with wire. Her feet had blisters. She clutched the invitation inside a plastic bag to keep it safe from the gathering storm clouds. Elena joined the line at the main entrance. The woman in front of her wore a gown that probably cost more than Elena's entire neighborhood. Her perfume was strong and flowery. The woman glanced back, saw Elena, and wrinkled her nose in disgust. "Excuse me, girl," the woman said rudely. "The service entrance is around back." "I'm a guest," Elena said quietly. The woman laughed and turned away. When Elena reached the security checkpoint, Commander James looked her up and down. His lip curled in disgust. "Delivery entrance is in the back," he said. "I'm not delivering anything," Elena replied. Her voice was steady even though her heart was pounding. "I have an invitation." She pulled the envelope from the plastic bag and held it out. Commander James took it. He looked at it for only 3 seconds. Then he laughed. It was a harsh, cruel sound. "Where'd you steal this?" he asked. "Some print shop downtown?" "It's real," Elena insisted. "Please check the registry. Rosa Conquo. Issued by the late king 20 years ago." James's smile disappeared. His face turned cold and angry. "Rosa Conquo," he said slowly. "The thief. You're her granddaughter." What happened next would change Elena's life forever. But would it destroy her or save her? By morning the video had gone viral. #PalaceGate Scandal. 4.1 million views in 18 hours. The comments were like knives cutting into Elena's heart. Orphans should know their place. This is what happens when poor people get delusional. Grandmother was a thief. Granddaughter is a liar. Blood doesn't lie. Elena watched the video once on a cracked smartphone at the village internet cafe. She paid 5 naira for 10 minutes. The screen showed everything. The champagne hitting her face. Commander James's boot crushing her hand. Her walking away in the rain. She never watched it again. By the end of the week, Elena's life had completely collapsed. The bakery fired her first. "Can't have controversy working our ovens," the manager said. "Bad for business." Elena had worked there for 3 years. 6 nights a week, 10 at night until 6 in the morning. They paid her for only 2 days and told her to leave immediately. The laundry service fired her next. Then the market cleaning crew. "You embarrassed the whole village, Elena," they said. "People talk. Customers ask questions. We can't keep you." Her landlord came on day 8. He stood at her door with his arms crossed. "You have until Sunday," he said. "Property value drops when scandal tenants live here." That Sunday, Elena tried to attend church. The pastor stopped her at the door. "We can't have this kind of attention, sister," he said quietly. "Perhaps another parish would be better for you." Former friends crossed the street when they saw her coming. Mothers pulled their children away like Elena carried some terrible disease. The baker's son, who had smiled at her for months, spat at her feet when she passed. On day 10, the village elders summoned Elena to the village square. 12 men in white robes sat in a semicircle. The entire village watched from behind them. Elena stood alone in the center, facing them all. Elder Samuel spoke first. His voice boomed across the square so everyone could hear. "Elena Okonkwo, you have brought shame to Emberfield village. Your delusions have made us a laughingstock across Nigeria. We demand a public apology. Recorded. Posted online. Admit you lied about the invitation. Admit your grandmother was a thief. Restore our dignity." Elena's voice was steady and clear. "I won't apologize for telling the truth." "Then you are no longer welcome here," Elder Samuel declared. That night, Elena slept in an abandoned clinic on the village outskirts. The building had been condemned 5 years ago. It had broken windows, rusted equipment, and rats in the walls. But it had a roof. Elena carried everything she owned in one canvas bag. 2 dresses. A bar of soap. Her grandmother's letter. The torn invitation she had collected from the palace gates. She didn't have the thimble anymore. Commander James still had it. For 3 days Elena ate nothing. Her stomach hurt constantly, but she had no money and no food. On the 4th day she found a bakery trash bin behind the market. The bread inside was 2 days old and covered in mold. Elena scraped off the mold with her fingernails and ate what was left. On day 7, Elena wrote a note on a torn piece of paper. I can't do this anymore. Forgive me, grandmother. I tried. She folded it carefully and placed it in her pocket. Then she walked to the bridge over the Kono River. It was the same river where Mama Rose had saved young Prince Daniel 20 years ago. Elena stood at the railing. The water rushed 30 feet below, dark and cold in the moonlight. She thought about her grandmother's last words. He promised he'd remember. She thought about the laughter at the palace gates. The champagne on her dress. Commander James's boot crushing her hand. She thought about being invisible. About being nothing to everyone. Her fingers gripped the cold metal railing. She closed her eyes and prepared to climb over. Child, what are you doing up there? Elena turned sharply. An elderly woman stood at the foot of the bridge. She wore a simple dress and carried a medical bag. Her face was kind and lined with age. Nothing, Elena said quickly. I'm Fine. You're standing on a bridge in the rain at midnight, the woman said gently. You're not fine. The woman climbed the steps slowly, breathing hard. I'm Dr. Margaret. I used to run the clinic you're sleeping in. Elena's breath caught. How did you know? Small village. People talk. Dr. Margaret reached the top and stood beside Elena. I heard what happened at the palace. I saw the video. Then you know I'm a liar, Elena whispered. I know you're Rose's granddaughter, Dr. Margaret said firmly. And I know your grandmother was no thief. Could this stranger know the truth? And could the truth save Elena from the darkness pulling her down? Elena turned to face Dr. Margaret. Rain dripped down both their faces. You knew her? Elena asked. Her voice cracked with emotion. I was the doctor on duty the night Prince Daniel nearly drowned, Dr. Margaret said. Your grandmother saved his life. I treated the boy afterward. Hypothermia. Water in his lungs. Without her, he would have died. The rain fell harder. Elena's voice broke. Then why did everyone say she stole from the queen? Dr. Margaret's face grew sad. Because the truth was more dangerous than a lie. Come with me. There's something you need to see. Dr. Margaret's house was small but warm. She made hot tea and set a plate of bread and cheese on the table. Elena ate slowly, ashamed of how hungry she was. The doctor disappeared into a back room and returned carrying a metal lockbox. She set it on the table. Your grandmother gave me this the day she was banished, Dr. Margaret said softly. She made me promise to keep it safe. To give it to you when you were grown and only if she was gone. She unlocked the box with a small key. Inside were documents, photographs, and letters. Dr. Margaret laid them out one by one. First, the original royal invitation signed by the late King David himself. The crimson seal was intact. At the bottom, handwritten in ink, for Rose Okonkwo who gave my son his life back. Access granted under Royal Decree 447 in perpetuity. Second, a photograph. Young Prince Daniel in a hospital bed, maybe 10 years old. He was smiling. Beside him sat Mama Rose, younger and radiant. The king stood behind them, his hand on Rose's shoulder. Third, a child's drawing in crayon on paper. A woman pulling a boy from blue waves. At the bottom in a child's handwriting, the lady who saved me. I will never forget her. Daniel. Elena's hands trembled as she held the drawing. He remembered, she whispered. He did, Dr. Margaret said. But they made sure he couldn't find her. Fourth, a notarized testimony dated 23 years ago. Mama Rose's signature at the bottom. Elena read it slowly. Her grandmother's words described what she had witnessed. Queen Catherine meeting a foreign diplomat in the palace gardens late at night. An embrace. Akish. Rose had been delivering gowns. She had seen too much. Lady Victoria had found her 3 days later. Forget what you saw or your granddaughter will pay. Rose refused to lie in official testimony. So Lady Victoria framed her. She planted jewelry in Rose's sewing bag and accused her of theft. The conviction was sealed within a week. Your grandmother was banished to protect the Queen's secret, Dr. Margaret explained. And to protect you. Lady Victoria threatened you specifically. Rose left to keep you safe. Elena stared at the documents spread across the table. Proof. Real solid proof. Why didn't you come forward? Elena asked. I was afraid, Dr. Margaret admitted. Shame filled her voice. I'm ashamed of that now. But Elena, you're not afraid. You stood at those palace gates and told the truth even when the world called you a liar. That's the kind of courage your grandmother would recognize. Elena looked up. What do I do with this? That's your choice, Dr. Margaret said. But I'll tell you what I know. Prince Daniel hosts a charity gala in 3 weeks. Public event. Anyone can buy a ticket for 100 naira. Large donors get a private audience with him. I don't have 100 naira, Elena said quietly. Ido, Dr. Margaret replied. And I owe your grandmother a debt I can never repay. Let me help you. Elena's eyes filled with tears. Why are you doing this? Because I was silent once and it cost a good woman everything, Dr. Margaret said. Her voice was fierce now. I won't be silent again. Dr. Margaret offered Elena a job. Night custodian at her private medical practice. Minimum wage, but it came with a small storage room Elena could sleep in. Elena accepted immediately. For the next 3 weeks, Elena worked from midnight to 6 in the morning. She mopped floors, sanitized equipment, and filed medical records. During the day she researched. She learned everything about Royal Decree 447. She memorized palace protocols. She practiced what she would say if she got 5 minutes with Prince Daniel. Dr. Margaret contributed 1,500 naira. An elderly archives clerk named Moses, who remembered Rose fondly, gave 1,200 naira. Together with Elena's savings, they reached 5,000 naira. Enough for platinum donor status. Guaranteed private audience with the prince. Elena bought the ticket online. She borrowed a simple silver dress from Dr. Margaret's daughter. She practiced walking in shoes that didn't hurt her feet. She stopped checking the viral video comments. She stopped thinking about the bridge railing. She chose to be seen. On the morning of the gala, Elena stood in front of a mirror. The girl staring back was thin and tired but unbroken. Grandmother, she whispered to her reflection. If he doesn't remember you, at least he'll know I tried. But Elena didn't know something important. Across the city in the royal palace, Prince Daniel was staring at the silver thimble he had taken from evidence. He had been searching for Elena Okonkwo for 3 weeks. His investigator had finally found her. Tonight their paths would cross again. But would it bring justice or more heartbreak? The charity gala was held in the East Wing ballroom of the Crystal Palace. 500 guests filled the room in evening wear. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling. Marble columns lined the walls. Elena arrived at 7 in the evening. She wore the borrowed silver dress and carried a leather portfolio folder. Dr. Margaret's idea. Inside were copies of every document from the lockbox. Her platinum donor badge was pinned to her chest. Her hands didn't shake this time. Security waved her through without incident. No one recognized her from the viral video. The dress helped. So did the way she walked. Elena walked like she belonged. The ballroom buzzed with conversation. Waiters moved through the crowd with champagne and small snacks. A string quartet played soft music in the corner. Elena found a spot near the back and watched carefully. Lady Victoria stood near the stage with a clipboard, directing staff. She wore emerald green tonight. Her gold ring caught the light. Commander James stood by the VIP entrance with his arms crossed, scanning the crowd. Elena's heart beat faster. She lowered her head and moved toward the opposite side of the room. At 8 o'clock, Prince Daniel took the stage. He wore a dark suit with no royal decorations. He looked tired, older than his 30 years. But when he spoke, his voice was steady and strong. Thank you all for coming tonight. Every naira raised goes directly to medical care for children who can't afford treatment. This cause is personal to me. When I was 10, I nearly died. A stranger saved my life. I've spent 20 years trying to honor that gift. This hospital is part of that promise. He didn't explain further. The crowd applauded politely. Now we'll recognize our platinum donors, Prince Daniel continued. These individuals contributed 5,000 naira or more. Please join me on stage for a brief thank you. 15 people stood. Elena was 16th. They formed a line at the stage steps. One by one, Prince Daniel shook hands, posed for photos, and exchanged a few words. Each interaction lasted maybe 30 seconds. Elena's turn came. She climbed the steps carefully. Prince Daniel extended his hand, smiling automatically. Then his eyes met hers. He froze. The smile vanished completely. His hand hung in the air between them. You, he whispered. The room was too loud for anyone else to hear. Elena took his hand. Your Highness. You're Rose's granddaughter, he said. His voice was filled with emotion. Yes. His grip tightened on her hand. You came to my birthday gala with my invitation and my guards threw you out. It's all right, Elena said softly. It's not all right. His voice was raw with pain. I've been searching for you for 3 weeks. My investigator found you 2 days ago. I was going to come to you but... He stopped and looked around. Lady Victoria was watching from the wings. Her eyes were narrow with suspicion. Prince Daniel released Elena's hand and addressed the crowd loudly. Ladies and gentlemen, please excuse me for a moment. Miss Okonkwo and I have something to discuss. Continue enjoying the evening. He gestured toward a side door. Please. 5 minutes. Elena followed him off the stage. Lady Victoria moved to block their path, but Prince Daniel held up his hand firmly. Not now, he said. They entered a small study off the ballroom. Prince Daniel closed the door. The music and chatter became muffled and distant. He turned to face her. Up close, Elena could see the tension in his jaw and the shadows under his eyes. I owe you an apology, he said. This kingdom will never be able to repay what we did to you. Your Highness, please? Just Daniel, he interrupted. He ran a hand over his face tiredly. I watched the security footage. I watched them throw champagne at you. I watched Commander James step on your hand. I watched you walk away in the rain. You were there? Elena asked in surprise. I was reviewing arrival footage when it happened. I didn't know who you were at first. But then I saw this. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the silver thimble. He placed it gently on the desk between them. I took it from evidence that night because I have one just like it. He opened a drawer and retrieved a second thimble, identical to the first. Your grandmother gave this to me 20 years ago. She pulled me from the river and got me breathing again. When I was conscious, she pressed this into my palm. She said, remember this. Remember kindness. I never forgot her face, but I didn't know her name. My parents told me she'd moved away. I drew pictures of her. I asked about her for years. His voice cracked with emotion. They lied to me. Elena opened the portfolio. She laid the documents on the desk one by one. The photograph. The testimony. The drawing. Prince Daniel picked up his childhood drawing. His hands shook as he stared at it. I made this in the hospital. I was so scared I'd forget her. He looked up at Elena with wet eyes. Why didn't she come back? Why didn't she tell me what they did to her? Because Lady Victoria threatened me, Elena said quietly. My grandmother left to keep me safe. Prince Daniel's face hardened like stone. Victoria. Elena showed him the testimony. He read it slowly, his lips moving with each word. When he finished, he was silent for a long moment. My mother had an affair, he finally said. Yes. And Victoria covered it up by framing your grandmother. Yes. Prince Daniel stood abruptly and paced the small room like a caged animal. For 20 years, I've been searching for the woman who saved my life. And for 20 years, my chief advisor has been sitting across from me in council meetings, knowing exactly where she was. Knowing what she did. He stopped and looked at Elena with fierce determination. Do you know what this means? Tomorrow I'm calling an emergency assembly. Royal court. Press. Witnesses. I'm going to present this evidence publicly. And I want you there. Visible. So the kingdom can see that Rose's legacy cannot be erased. Elena's breath caught in her throat. They'll destroy me again. Not if I'm standing with you, Prince Daniel said firmly. Not if the truth is on camera. Could Elena be brave one more time? And would the truth finally set her free? The next morning, Elena arrived at the Crystal Palace in a car sent by Prince Daniel. This time the gates opened wide. Security waved her through with respect. She was escorted to a private sitting room. A stylist waited inside with racks of clothing. His Highness requested I help you prepare for the assembly, the woman said kindly. Only if you'd like. Elena nodded silently. An hour later, she wore a tailored silver suit. Her hair was styled simply. She wore no jewelry except the silver thimble on a new chain around her neck. At 8:50 in the morning, Prince Daniel knocked on the door. He wore full royal regalia this time. Sash, medals, crown. He looked every inch a prince. Are you ready? He asked. No, Elena admitted. But I'll do it anyway. He smiled. It was small but genuine. That's all courage ever is. They walked together through marble corridors. Staff members stopped and stared. Word had already spread that something big was happening. The throne room doors opened. 1,000 people filled the massive space. Nobles sat in the front rows. Press cameras lined the walls. A public gallery stood in the back, packed with standing people. At the front on a raised platform sat 3 chairs. The center throne was for Prince Daniel. To the right, a smaller chair for witnesses. To the left, 2 chairs for the accused. Queen Catherine was already seated in the audience. Her face was pale and tight with worry. Lady Victoria stood near the side entrance with her arms crossed. Commander James shifted nervously beside her. Prince Daniel led Elena to the witness chair. She sat down carefully. He took his place on the throne. The room fell completely silent. Prince Daniel's voice rang out clear and powerful. This assembly has been called to address a grave injustice. 20 years ago, a woman named Rose Okonkwo saved my life. She pulled me from the Kono River and brought me back from drowning. My father, King David, thanked her personally and granted her a royal invitation under Decree 447. He gestured to a large screen behind him. The hospital photograph appeared. Young Daniel, Rose, and the king together. 3 weeks ago, Rose's granddaughter, Elena Okonkwo, attempted to attend my birthday gala using that invitation. She was turned away, humiliated, and assaulted by palace security. The incident went viral. 4.1 million people watched her be called a liar. The photograph of Elena's humiliation appeared on screen. Her champagne-stained dress. Commander James's boot on her hand. Gasps filled the room. Cameras flashed everywhere. Today, I present evidence that Elena Okonkwo was telling the truth. That her grandmother was not a thief. That she was framed to protect a lie. He projected the testimony. The notarized document filled the screen. Rose Okonkwo witnessed Queen Catherine in a compromising position with foreign diplomat Lord Marcus Bennett. She was ordered to forget what she saw. She refused. 3 days later, jewelry was planted in her bag. She was convicted of theft and banished. The crowd erupted in shocked whispers. Queen Catherine closed her eyes and lowered her head. Lady Victoria, Commander James, please take your seats, Prince Daniel commanded. Commander James took his seat immediately. Lady Victoria moved slowly, her face rigid and mask-like. Prince Daniel continued methodically. He projected document after document. Dr. Margaret's medical report. The original royal invitation signed by King David. The child's drawing. Dr. Margaret stood when called and confirmed every detail. Rose Okonkwo saved Prince Daniel's life. Without her he would have died. Every word in my report is true. Then Prince Daniel turned to Commander James. 3 weeks ago you stepped on Elena Okonkwo's hand. Do you deny this? James's face crumbled. No, Your Highness. I don't deny it. I was wrong. I am deeply sorry. He turned to Elena with tears streaming down his face. Miss Okonkwo, I have no excuse. I am sorry. Elena said nothing. Her face remained calm and dignified. Finally, Prince Daniel turned to Lady Victoria. For 20 years you orchestrated a cover-up. You framed an innocent woman. You paid witnesses to lie. You ordered palace security to assault a citizen with legitimate credentials. He projected bank transfer records showing Victoria's payments. Everything I did to protect this kingdom, Victoria said coldly. The Queen's affair would have toppled the monarchy. Rose Okonkwo was collateral damage for the greater good. Collateral damage? Prince Daniel's voice was dangerously quiet. She was a human being. A hero. And you turned her into a criminal to save your own position of power. He gestured to the guards. Take her into custody. 2 officers approached. Victoria backed away wild-eyed. You can't do this. I've served this family for 30 years. You sacrificed nothing, Prince Daniel said firmly. You sacrificed other people. Remove her. As the guards led Victoria past Elena, she spat out one last sentence. You'll always be the orphan who got lucky. That's all you are. Elena looked her directly in the eye. And you'll always be the woman who destroyed a hero. I know which I'd rather be. Prince Daniel stood from his throne. Lady Victoria is stripped of all titles. 20 years imprisonment. Commander James, 5 years imprisonment and dishonorable discharge. Queen Catherine, you will abdicate from public duties immediately. You will personally fund 50 university scholarships in Rose Okonkwo's name. His mother nodded silently, tears falling. Finally, palace security protocols will be reformed. An independent review board will investigate all sealed cases from the past 30 years. He walked down from the throne and stopped in front of Elena. He removed his royal sash, deep purple silk embroidered with gold, and placed it over her shoulders. You are under the crown's protection. Anyone who harms you harms me. The room exploded into thunderous applause. Prince Daniel leaned close so only Elena could hear. This is just the beginning. If you'll let me, I want to rebuild what they broke. Not just for you. For everyone they silenced. Elena looked up at him. How? I'm establishing a royal reform commission. Independent oversight of wrongful convictions and abuse of power. I want you to lead it. Elena's eyes widened. Lead it? I'm not qualified. You're the only one qualified, he said gently. You've survived what we're trying to fix. Will you do it? Elena thought of her grandmother. The thimble. The bridge railing. The champagne-stained dress. Yes, she said firmly. Prince Daniel smiled. Genuine and warm. Then let's get to work. 2 years later, Elena stood in Emberfield Village teaching a rights workshop. 30 people attended, all carrying stories the system had tried to bury. The Zuri house had grown. 3 buildings now. Medical wing, library, counseling center. 200 families served monthly. That evening, Elena sat at her grandmother's grave. Fresh flowers covered the clean headstone. The inscription read, Rose a Conquo. Hero, seamstress, truth teller. She dove in without hesitation. So should we all. Elena traced the letters with her fingers. I did it, grandmother. I made them remember you. And I didn't disappear. The wind rustled through silver flowers planted around the grave. Elena thought about the girl she had been 2 years ago. Soaked, humiliated, holding torn paper in the rain. She thought about the woman she was now. Tired but unbroken. Flawed but fighting. The journey wasn't over. Some days still felt impossible. But she had learned something crucial. Courage wasn't fearlessness. It was showing up afraid and doing it anyway. Standing when they told you to kneel. Existing when they wanted you erased. Elena stood and brushed dirt from her knees. Tomorrow she would return to Lagos. Classes, commission hearings, therapy, and dinner with Prince Daniel, who had become King Daniel 1 year ago. But tonight, she drove home to Emberfield and slept in her own bed. No nightmares. Just the quiet knowledge that she had survived. Your voice matters. Your dignity is non-negotiable. Your existence is not up for debate. The most powerful act of resistance is refusing to believe what cruelty says about your worth. You are not invisible. You never were. We've come to the end of today's story. I hope it touched your heart. Thanks for watching and staying with us till the end. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. See you in the next one. And tell us in the comments, where are you watching from?